Tonight, Time+Tide, in association with Omega, will present the Night of Omega Firsts here at Vue de Monde in Melbourne, 55 floors above the city. This is going to be an amazing night. We have the museum manager of Omega, Mr. Petros Protopapas, here to talk us through these watches. Time+Tide has brought the enthusiasts and the collectors. Omega and Petros have brought these incredible watches. Let's have some fun.
So 1894, what does that say to you? It should, amongst other things, say that that's the year where Omega got its name-giving caliber. It's our as in Omega, first industrialized movement, and it was our first movement to feature the interchangeability of spare parts. But it's still an interesting idea that we thought that nothing can top it, and hence we named the movement Omega. And by 1903, not earlier than that, contrary to some speculation, the company was named after this movement. So we received our name by that movement. People think that since a chronograph that looks like a pocket watch, like this one there, the 18 Crow, by the way, that it's a more crudely converted pocket watch. Well, it isn't. Contrary to belief by many collectors, this isn't a talented watchmaker soldering lugs to a pocket watch. This model is from 1915, but we can trace that history with us in our archives by 1913, and we developed it, well, for a negative purpose, which is the war, which is soldiers and officers. Hence the very first advertisement by Omega that features this very model, in 1913, calls it actually the watch for the artillery. It's actually quite a historical fact that this is or represents the world's first commercialized divers watch. I will not tell you this is the first, because it isn't, as in diver's watch. But it is the first commercialized one. And why is it the first commercialized one? If you lived in Rio de Janeiro, or in Tokyo, or in Switzerland, or actually in Athens, I know, you could actually go to a dealer that had Omega, and you can actually order that watch, and it came, and you could dive with it. And we invented it and patented it because of sponge divers. So the civilian side of diving actually came to us, knocked at the door, and said, we need something to take down. Of course, it is, well, 1932, first time that Omega timed the Olympic Games as the official timekeeper for all the disciplines. So the watch was there in sufficient numbers. So the only thing they had to do is find people to operate it. So we gave that to them. And well, Olympic timekeeping at that time, it was enough to not even bring 30 pieces to Los Angeles. That was enough. With 30 pieces like this, we timed a whole lot of the Olympic Games. This watch and this model has actually seen more time in flying in Hurricanes and Spitfires than, honestly, most of the other watches that say that they have seen time in Hurricanes and Spitfires. So this number-wise, this makes the Fleet Air Arm marked Omegas, actually they should be more valuable because they have seen more action than the others. This watch has not traveled much. The importance of this watch, you know, I'm sure, or I hope, that you all know about the chronometer competitions. We kept winning. We thought that we can win even better if we take an ancient idea, ancient as in Abraham Le Breguet, the idea to eliminate gravity. So by 1947 we created one, let's be honest here, one of the first wristwatch-sized tourbillon movements. It was built in only 12 pieces in order to be sent off to all the chronometer competitions to win. What is sure is that it's one of the most beautiful watches we ever did, especially in that version. And the bracelet, you can sort of see it later and stretch it later because it's the 18 karat gold version of the stretcher, which means like the Speedmaster and Seamaster 300 bracelets, they have semi-flexible links towards the clasp, and you don't really find them easily in good condition in the 18 karat gold variant. I'm not paid to do this, to say this, that I love the brand, but I love the brand because it's a substantial brand. It's everything else, if you don't have the history behind it, it doesn't mean a single thing. But if you can prove every single point of what you're talking about by your own DNA, that elevates the brand to a completely different level. And there aren't really too many brands that can really say this about all their history. With us from 1848, name-wise 1894 till today. I mean, this is incredible what this brand can really give you. You all know that NASA was and is a government institution, okay? Now there is one thing that governments can usually not do, because indeed in 1962 something happened, but not the tests or not the incognito buying. What happened is two astronauts privately buying their own watches. Why do you need a watch in space? As a backup instrument, all right? But NASA is so incredibly busy by dealing with exploding redstone rockets that they don't really see that you need a watch or a camera. Hence, what do? Well, you spend a little bit of your own money and you buy your own cameras and you buy your own watches. So yes, Scott Carpenter may have bought whatever he bought, but Wally Schirra and Gordon Cooper, two astronauts of the Mercury project, they went out, possibly to Corrigans, this we do not know. They just bought privately their own Speedmasters. What's the perfect pilot's watch but a diver's watch? Because you can always read it. That one that goes around, if you look at the case back, you will find an engraving that marks it as a Peruvian Air Force watch. And that one has another feature not commonly seen on the diver's versions, the lollipop hand, which is officially referred to as that, because the round tip is not a feature of the under the sea version, it's a feature we actually implemented for the flying version, because it even increases the ease of looking at the seconds. It was the birth year of another idea, and that idea came from two places. It came rather unofficially from quite a famous diver or explorer, Jacques-Yves Cousteau, but they needed a watch that can be not only waterproof but time-proof under pressure and helium-proof. The idea was easy to provide a helium escape valve. So the reason for the shape is actually not just design. It was the shape we could come up with at the time as a monoblock pressed, stamped case that would not ever let helium go in. This is revolutionary, and he didn't want to hear anything his advisors said. It cannot be done, industrialized, too finicky, too tiny tolerances, too many small tolerances to follow. He said, just have to do it. And it was his idea that this is an Omega exclusivity. What we did with it in 1999 is the first DeVille limited edition. We finally met in Basel to introduce this watch to the world. The 000, like the zero edition of this watch, as you know, has been gifted with a special engraving to Josh Daniels. Give me the perfect oil, and I will give you the perfect watch. It's an urban legend. And the coaxial escapement is delivering a solution to exactly that, because it gives you an escapement that produces less friction due to one simple fact. It does not need friction to function, because the Swiss lever escapement functions basically out of the friction it creates. It needs the friction, otherwise there is no giving of the motion. The version that you see with the blue dial is, according at least to the sales figures, the rarest version of the first gen central tourbillon. Mostly on pictures and by collector standards, you see the so-called cream white dial version in all metals. You don't really get to see the blue version as often. So hence the choice was made to bring you the blue version, which is an incredibly beautiful watch that, had I the chance, I would call it mine. If that doesn't show you and everybody what it means to have a pioneering spirit and to not only be linked at, like certain aspects of timekeeping or whatever. We could be very happy with 1932 Olympic Games. It was the easiest thing. We could be very happy with constellations. We could probably sell constellations to the whole world. But that's the point. We are not. And the beauty of having a museum that is dedicated to this brand is we are able to show everybody the diversity of this pioneering spirit. And again, I come back to this. I hope that what you will take with you after this evening is over is this diversity, and that everything we speak of today is not an invention of you. It's more than that. That's the whole point.